Hello and welcome again. This is going to be my first video tackling my to-do list, and we're going to start with the probably highest priority on my to-do list, which was the EHA-Valve. The EHA-Valve is the Electrohydraulic Actuator, and it looks like this. To explain what it does, I think I found on a forum somebody explaining it that the electrohydraulic actuator consists of a valve placed on a reed in between magnets. There is an electromagnet placed inside that either decreases or increases the magnetic field. As the field changes, the reed will move back and forth, changing the size of valve opening. This in turn controls the amount of fuel in the lower chambers of the fuel distributor. The air-fuel ratio then in turn is altered accordingly to the lower chamber. So you can go more in depth, and there's plenty of posts and forums and websites that explain what the valve does. But essentially it's a very important part in delivering the right amount of fuel and having the right amount of pressure in your distributor and just making sure that your engine is running smoothly. And if the EHA valve fails or breaks or whatever, that may manifest in several different ways. In my case, I'm hoping that this is the case because I'm not entirely sure if it actually is caused by the EHA valve, but I'm having issues starting my car on the first try. I'll try and show this right now, and it's not going to happen because that's just the way these things work, but here we go. Okay, so it started perfectly on the first try, which is unfortunate for the video, but fortunate for me. So from what I've read, this part to me sounds like magic. It sounds like it can fix all my problems. If I wanted to get one from a trusted source in New Zealand, that would be 700 New Zealand dollars. I found some on eBay and they're a bit cheaper there, but then I wait for several weeks and I don't know how trusted these sellers are. Am I getting a new piece? They're very difficult to get a hold of. So I've been really, really lucky that I've got a friend who is giving me one that he had as a spare part to basically just test. So in today's video, I'm going to replace my EHA valve with this EHA valve and see if it fixes all my problems. It is the same Bosch part number, so that should hopefully work out. And if it does, then I will probably he'll sell me this one, or I have to buy the $700 replacement or wait for something on eBay. We'll see. But before we're going to get to that, I have actually got to pick something up that I would like to show you. So now that the engine is hot enough, let's get going. I'm not entirely sure what will happen today because even though the Bosch number is exactly the same, there's a 3-digit number underneath which differs. Mine is 950 and the replacement part I have is 837 or something like that. And of course, it's never good to not have exactly the right part, especially with an EHA valve. I've read that they are very fine-tuned to your engine, so it could not lead to results that I'm hoping for. But we'll replace it, and then mostly if my engine starts again and again without having that issue, then I think I'm quite confident that the EHA valve is indeed causing my issue. So I'm already wondering what could it be if it's not the EHA valve causing my issues, and another thing could then be the fuel accumulator, but I guess we'll see once we get to that point. So I've arrived at my destination and I'm going to pick up something that I'd like to show you. I've got the item that I came for. I found it on Facebook Marketplace and I thought it was appropriate for the upcoming videos. And it's this. It's a Mercedes Formula One Polo, and that's what I'm going to get changed into once I get back, and then we're going to get onto the actual work. So yeah, let's make our way back. Okay, so now that we're appropriately outfitted for this, we can get to work, and we're not going to need many tools for this. So let's get started. And the first thing is we're going to detach the battery. We're going to have to remove this filter to get to the EHA valve. And there's just 4 10mm screws to remove the lid first. So after removing the 4 screws, you're going to have to unclip all of these. And so the next thing you'll want to do is you need to detach this hose from here. Before I continue with any more work, I'll probably remove the watch and put on some gloves as well. For the next step, we're going to have to take out the whole filter. Now that we've detached this part, this should just slide out. And boom, we're out. Now we'll have to get rid of this part in which the filter sits in. And in order to do that, there are a few screws we will need to take off, which is this one here. There is one right here. And there's another one, which I'm actually missing, I believe, which should be sitting... that one right there. Okay, so let's get rid of those 2. And another thing you'll have to do, or which I'll have to do, is I have to detach this, because otherwise this won't come off. Detaching this now, which is a twist and then a pull. And then another thing you can remove, there's a little vacuum hose attached to this. And now this thing should be nice and loose, and it is, and it comes off just like that. There we go. So now we can already see the EHA valve sitting right here, and the EHA valve is connected right here, and this can be tricky to remove. For me, I think one of the pins is already broken off, yep, on this side, so it's a bit of a wiggle. But yeah, we'll try and get that out now. So yeah, this is disconnected now. I also found another cable which wasn't connected in the first place. And I do wonder what that is for, because it's just not plugged in for me. And yeah, I couldn't figure it out. So if anybody knows, let me know. Next up, we're going to have to disconnect the EHA valve by opening up these Torx screws, and I'm expecting a little bit of fuel to kind of just squirt out of there. This is a T25, and I will now open up these screws, and as I mentioned before, I'm expecting there to be a little bit of petrol coming my way. Both sides. Ah, there we go. You can see it's kind of wet now, and it's squirted a little bit. Nothing to be afraid of. Now what you really don't want to do is you don't want to lose your... Okay, that was more fuel. I really don't want to lose my screws in the engine, so I'm going to try and be extra careful here. Okay, ooh. There we go. Okay, so this is my part, and it's kind of hard to tell if it was leaking or not, because obviously there was a little bit of fuel squirting when I opened it up, and it's looking fairly clean right now, but it doesn't mean that it might not still be the issue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the replacement part. You can see it's exactly the same. Wait, is it the same? It is the same. So here we go. Here are the parts right next to each other. Before I install the new part, I'm going to wipe dry all of this area around here. And you can see that there's 2 O-rings, so be very careful to not drop these and let them fall into your engine room, because they will pop out. So let's clean this first. I'm going to make it tight, but not too tight. Right, so now that's nice and tight, and I will plug it in again. There we go, plugged in, and that's that. I'm not going to put the filter back because I want to test out my starting first, because again, this is more troubleshooting than it is actual replacement. It's not my part yet. I'm just trying to see if this is actually my issue. So here goes nothing. And that's what I didn't hope would happen. Let's try it once more. It started, but that wasn't necessarily a very clean start. So we'll try it once more. It is starting, so now I'll take a look at what the valve is doing, if there's any leaks coming from this one, and I'll just let it run for a little while. What it is definitely doing is it's idling a bit better than what it used to idle at, because usually I'd start and it would be probably roughly above 1,000, and now it's closer to 900, which is more where I'd like it to be. So yeah, maybe that first try wasn't exactly giving me the best indication, because I've just installed it. Maybe the whole system needed some time to prime. I'm not too sure, but yeah, let's have a little look and observe what's happening now. Okay, so this is not good at all. I hope you can hear me despite the engine running, but I can actually see it drip right now. So this is probably worse to what it has been beforehand. So I've attached it once again, and this time a little tighter than the first time, to see if that makes a difference. I'm going to turn on the battery and give it another go, observe it, and if it's doing the same thing, then maybe this one is just leaky as well. And I'll put my old one in and have another think. It appears to be still leaking. I'm going to try and tighten it even more. So let's try and see where this leak is actually coming from. It's really difficult to film in here. So that EHA valve is definitely leaking, which means it's no good for me. But it has been idling nicer, so is there still something wrong with my EHA valve? I guess what we'll have to do is we're gonna have to take that one out, put my old one back in. Then I'm gonna check if that one is visually leaking the way this one is leaking. And well, then I'm gonna have to make a decision on what my next steps are. There could always be the case that I'm not installing this properly and I'm causing the leak myself. So let's have a look. So my valve is in fact not leaking at all. So if we take a look here, you can see quite well that this is just completely dry. And if we go in here, we can actually also see that it is idling in the way I would like it to idle, not above 1,000 like it sometimes does. So sadly, this is where I think I'll end the video, because I'm not really making any progress. For me, I haven't really solved the issue. I am still having my starting issues, even though it only happened once in all the testing today. we figured out that the replacement EHA valve was in fact leaking, which I thought my one was, but maybe it turns out my one isn't leaking, and it was just the fuel that spilled when I opened it up or when I took it apart the first time. So yeah, on the plus side, you now know what a leaky EHA valve looks like, and if that's the case for you, then you should probably replace it. On the downside for me is that I'm not too sure what my next steps are. I'm going to have to do some more investigation. Maybe it is the fuel accumulator, maybe it's something completely different. But there's also another positive for me, and that means I probably don't, or I might not have to replace the EHA valve, which is a $700 part. So if I can figure out that it's something else, that might be a cheaper fix, I can keep my EHA valve and eventually get my car to start normally. So this is where we'll end it today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.